Rodney, are you guys ready over there? Okay. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order for the Planning and Zoning Commission for August 20, I guess the 26th, 2025. Called order.
Here.
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 Report on council actions, Rodney.
Chair and Vice Chair gone. Thank you for being here. Rodney Ashby, Planning and Zoning Director, for the record. The first item was an annexation and zoning for Brentwood Village. This was recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is at the corner of Eustick Road and North Franklin Boulevard. And the original concept is that residential detached quads with commercial and access to a cell tower with BC zoning as well as IL zoning for the cell tower, and then the RS4 designation. So this was a little bit unique. If you remember, they were in clusters of 4, and I don't know that we've seen it exactly done like this, but they're single-family detached homes in clusters of 4. And so that was recommended by you, and City Council did approve that. The next one was a development agreement modification. This was for home base. This is the one off of Franklin over by Tin Roof Tacos and across from the cheese factory. They needed a change to the development agreement to allow them to put parking in the front of the property and then allow the drive-through in the back. So you had recommended approval, and City Council approved those as well. So those are the only 2 that I have.
That was it. Thank you. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
And motion by Kehoe, second by Dapper to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll get started on our public hearings. Thank you all for being here. For those that haven't done this before, the applicant will come up and give us his presentation, his or her, on what they want to do, up to 7 minutes. We'll hear from staff on their report. We'll open up public testimony. At that time, you come up and speak for, against, or undecided. You have 3 minutes. Please remember to give us your name and address when you come up to the mic, and speak so we can hear you into the mic. And if you're not up at the mic, please try to keep quiet because it is being recorded and it's hard to understand if they have to go back and play it, and it's hard for people online to hear. So with that, we'll get started with the first one. Conditional use permit for a data center in an IL zoning district at 8300 Birch Lane on 7.6 acre parcel located for Josh Leonard and from Clark Wardell LLP, representing T5 Data Centers LLC. Original concept to establish a networking data center for the data storage, processing, and network connectivity to support a single user's global network. You must be the applicant.
I am. Thank you, Chairman Turner. Appreciate it. Members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Josh Leonard of the law firm of Clark Wardell. Do you need an address from me?
Please.
It's 251 East Front Street, Suite 310 in Boise. I'd also like to introduce our project team. I have Kevin Nordstrom here. He's the president of QLever, Raed Alfrayat of T5 Data Centers, and engineers Nate DeVore, Brad Latson, Jason Page, and Matt Mumpower. Jumping right in to our presentation today, quick overview of the subject property, where it's located, its size. It's a really, The subject property includes a very recently constructed building that's existing on the property within an industrial park located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Madison Road and Birch Lane. As I mentioned, the industrial park there is very new, having only been approved by the city in 2023. This slide, let's see if I can get there. This shows the location of the industrial park, and more particularly, if you can see it, it's in green of our particular building within that industrial park. As noted in the staff report, the Matern Go-Go Squeeze facility is adjacent just to the south of us. A little bit more zoomed in version of the aerial image showing the building that we'd be occupying. And there it is. That's a few months old now. As I mentioned, we're proposing to use an existing building within the industrial park. And again, this picture is just a little bit dated. It's been completed with landscaping and that since then. The proposed use is as a networking data center. Other buildings in the industrial park are used by Trane Technologies, Tough Jug, Primo Water, Semikinetics, and S-Tech, all fairly light industrial and manufacturing entities. Access exists at the northeast corner of the subject property, and parking will continue to comply with Nampa City Code. Inside the existing building shell, the proposed use will include, it'll be built out in 5 phases. It'll include data halls, office space, and support areas and loading dock space, as well as equipment galleries for supporting infrastructure. And again, the building is fully fire sprinklered. I apologize for having so much text on this. I'm going to run through it pretty quick. One of the cardinal sins of doing a PowerPoint is having too much text on the screen. Really, what I'd like to do is just note here that that the external features have been completed, landscaping's been completed. There will be perimeter fencing with a vehicular gate, and that the landscaping and plantings that are on the property comply with Nampa City Code. As noted in the staff report, the property is zoned light industrial. This is an allowed use within the light industrial zone as long as it obtains a conditional use permit. The future land use map designation is as industrial. Again, we comply with that. There are 4 CUP criteria. First, that it's supported by the Nampa Comprehensive Plan. Second, that it won't adversely affect the intended character and appearance of the general vicinity. Third, that it will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services. And fourth, that it won't be detrimental to persons, property, or general welfare. On that first one, supported by the Nampa Comprehensive Plan, again, too much text. I highlighted the key points. New businesses, this particular business that's going to be occupying the building is among the new businesses that have been attracted to the amenities of Nampa. It's also been recruited to the city of Nampa, and most importantly, the last one in Comp Plan Section 4.4, where it reads, the city's economic development efforts seek to expand the presence of businesses in the industries of computer electronics, and goes on from there. This is a computer electronics use for this facility. We also comply in that the subject property and the proposed use are among the new industrial properties that are important to the city according to its comprehensive plan. And then also with regard to community design, the existing building was approved and constructed relatively recently and complies with its design review approval. The second criteria is that the design, construction, operation, and maintenance will not adversely impact the intended character and appearance of the general vicinity. In this instance, the general vicinity of the proposed project is also within the same industrial park, similarly designed buildings. As a result, this proposed use will cause no adverse impact to the general vicinity. The property is also already served by city water, sewer, and pressurized irrigation. Idaho Power has confirmed that power is available at the site, and emergency services, because it's an existing building, are already serving the subject property. So this third criteria for a CUP is met. The fourth criteria for a CUP is that the proposed use will not involve activities or processes, materials, equipment, and conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person's property or general welfare by reason of excessive traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, or odors. As noted in the staff report, and I'm going to quote here, because of the small scale of this data center, because of the limited visitors to the location, and because the operation will be required to follow industry and government safety standards, the proposed use will not create a detriment to any person's property or general welfare. And that's the fourth of the conditional use permit criteria. Again, going back through each of the criteria contained in Nampa City Code, our proposed use is supported by the Nampa Comprehensive Plan. Our proposed use will not adversely affect the intended character and appearance of the general vicinity. It is served adequately and will continue to be served adequately by essential public functions and services, and it will not be detrimental to persons' property or to the general welfare. I made it in less than 7 minutes. I appreciate the time that staff took to get through the project and review the documents and the time for the commission here to allow us to present. We'd stand for any questions.
Anybody?
Mr. Chair.
Go
So typically the concern with these things is power and water usage, right? Would you speak to how this particular tenant or this particular data center compares to typical other data centers, and then also maybe how it compares to more typical industrial use?
Sure. In fact, I think probably what I do is call somebody up that can speak to those questions.
Hey, Matt Mumpower. I reside in Atlanta, Georgia, but engineer on this project. So power requirements, this is about 5% of what we're typically building for data centers. So it's a 5 megawatt facility versus 100 megawatt ones that are normally being constructed these days. And then as far as water use, very minimal. So there's a closed loop cooling system. It will not evaporate water, so we won't be using anything more than 1 or 2 homes worth of water just for the typical hand washing sinks and toilets that are in the facility. Any more engineering related questions?
I think that's all I needed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Steve, did you have something?
Yeah, I do. You introduced a lot of these people as being your employees, and then you introduced him, but he's from Atlanta.
Not employees, I apologize. I'm the attorney representing the applicant, Mr. Keogh. I apologize.
So who are these people over here then?
They are also with the applicant. I work for the law firm that represents the applicant, T5 Data Centers and QLever. Over here you have the president of QLever, you have the president of T5 Data Centers, and then engineers that worked on the project.
So none of these people will actually be working there.
That's a great question. I don't believe so.
Okay, well, that answers one of my questions right off the bat, but I have another question.
Sure.
You have 24-hour security, and you have 11 employees. It takes about 5 employees to conduct good, adequate 24-hour security. So you have 5 employees doing security and 6 employees are going to be doing work?
If I may, Chairman, Mr. Keogh, did you get the figure of 5 employees to do adequate security from our, or is that from your own personal experience? Personal experience. Yeah, I can ask somebody up to talk more about how that would be manned and
I'm
staffed.
just curious why you have almost as many security people as you do employees working on the job.
I don't know that there will be that many security, particularly at any one time.
But not that security isn't a good thing to have, but
How you doing? Yes, our early estimates are 11 individuals working at the facility. We anticipate at least 5 to 6 daily employees operating the data center facility itself. As for security, that number could fluctuate, but it could reach 5 or could be slightly less than that.
Can you give us your name and address really quick?
Raid Al-Freyhat, T5 Data Centers.
thank you.
Yep,
That-
thank you.
Did you get that?
Anything else?
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant? Rodney, I think that's it for now. We'll hear from staff, and then we'll get the public
Thank
comments.
you very
and
much.
Call you back up if we have any more questions.
For the record, Rodney Ashby, Planning and Zoning Director. Mr. Chair and Commissioners, It's always great when the applicant continuously says, as stated in the staff report, makes my job really easy. Frankly, a lot has been covered that I had on these slides, so I'm just going to try to skip through. Please, if you have specific questions about any of the slides that I skip through, please let me know, and I'm happy to slow down. So there was the request, there's the land uses in the area, the comp plan, the zoning map, and an aerial view. Here's a more up-to-date aerial view with the landscaping and even a kind of a 3D render or a 3D view of it from a satellite picture. Actually, I think it's a drone, not a satellite. The applicable regulations, we've kind of covered this already. IL zoning requires the conditional use permit, as has been stated for the reasons that Commissioner Morgan mentioned, primarily the concern about water usage and power usage. So here's the criteria. They covered each of those. Pretty straightforward here. The building department listed some conditions that they'll have to follow. These are not real conditions that we place on them, but just requirements that code already will require of them when they go through the building permit process. And then similar in the engineering comments, kind of the same thing. There are specific comments about what is in the area, what's available, what is being provided, the services being provided to the site, and then the roadways in the area, that description. And then the only condition that they had is just compliance with city codes, policies, and standards at time of development. So pretty standard comments. Fire district, very similar. These are just general comments, and then general condition that they follow the building code and the International Fire Code and the City of Nampa Code at time of development, and that is handled through the permit process. We had no public comments. These are the recommended conditions. Again, most of these are just compliance with code. And then some of the facts, I think we've covered most of these, so I'm not going to go through each one of these, but they are in your staff report. The applicant covered, I think, all of them. We did mention in there security will be on site 24/7. That's what they indicated on their narrative. The visitors will be very limited. That was another key point. It really is just for the people working at the site or maintaining the site, and not a lot of traffic there, not a lot of visitors. So I didn't feel like the amount of visitors warranted a nuisance on the area or a negative impact to the area because of the limited number. Let's see, pretty much all standards will be required as required in the building permit process, but as has been stated, this is already a built building, and so we have already met those conditions. And then the key thing there, these two things here on the screen, the HVAC system will provide some cooling system that's unique to this one, as opposed to other types of data centers. It's very little water usage, and then the amount of power that's required is significantly less. The fully utilized one, I think we need to just make sure that's clear. They anticipate that within 2 to 5 years, they could be at 8.25 megawatts. And that would be the full build out and the full usage of this facility. Still significantly less than a typical data center that what you would expect to be concerned about, the usage of power. And then conclusions, I've just highlighted the main things that we've already talked about. I will say that the comprehensive plan identifies the need for industrial uses and technology as a key industry that we need to focus on. I think that fits in here. The building appearance isn't going to change. It's primarily just the use inside the existing building. And then, of course, the limited visitors. Services are already being provided here. I think I've covered everything here. And then with that, here are a couple of motions for your consideration, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions for Rodney?
I have one, and it might be something I should know already. When we do property assessments, or when the county does property assessments, do they take into account the contents of the building at all? I don't know how they would. Because like, obviously, something with these kind of racks, data racks would be more valuable than a similar building with storage racks.
I think it comes down, oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Morgan Treasurer, Assistant Director of Economic Development. Yes, so the personal property contents are evaluated as well in this kind of situation, and the value of the technology in the building is part of the consideration when it comes to the overall tax assessment on this kind of project. That's
Okay, good to
one
know.
of the things to consider in this kind of development.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Thank you. We'll open it up to public hearing. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up? Is there anybody that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this project?
Doing double duty, huh?
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Again, my name is Morgan Treasurer. I'm the Assistant Director of Economic Development. We just wanted to come tonight to talk a little bit about this project and the great conversations that we have had with the company. You know, data centers, sometimes when we hear that word, we can think of things, you know, much larger, more intensive projects. That is not what this company is about. And a thing we wanted to bring forward is that this is going into an existing building, and it is a single user. So a stable project using space that we need to have filled, and actually with quite a beneficial utility programming for that particular industrial park. So of course we want every business to be there and be successful. These folks are bringing another 8 megawatts onto that site. So that 8 megawatts will stay there on that site regardless of any tenant, regardless of any of that. So for a utility standpoint, this is actually another positive thing to bring to the area. So the Economic Development Department is in support of continuing to work on this project with this company.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else? Any more questions for the applicant? Nope, that'll be great. Would you go ahead and make a motion to close the public hearing? Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Kehoe, second by Morgan to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
just to be clear, we didn't give the applicant the chance to rebut if there was any concern.
Should we reopen the public
I think
hearing?
we're good, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Unless there are any questions.
Sorry, I didn't think we had anything to ask him, so thanks. You think? No, it's like, I like this idea. When I heard they weren't going to use half our water and a bunch of power from down the street, I was pleased with it.
I'm just curious about the security part, but, I mean, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of people.
Maybe they'll hire you.
Yeah. We retired more than 20 years.
Just don't have them run after anybody.
My wheelchair goes pretty fast.
There's no discussion, somebody could make a motion.
I move we approve the conditional use permit for a data center in IL zoning district at 8300 Birch Lane for Josh Leonard from Clark Wardle LLP representing T5 Data Centers LLC with recommended conditions and proposed findings.
Motion by Morgan and seconded by Kehoe to approve the conditional use permit. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And now I got to read this to you, though. The CUP will become effective 15 calendar days from the date the written decision and reason statement is provided to the applicant unless an appeal has been filed with the Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken on this CUP until the appeal period has concluded. The applicant must confirm with Planning and Zoning staff that there have been no appeals. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in.
Item number 2, conditional use permit to allow portions of the parking lot for product display as required in a BC zoning district at 216 Caldwell Boulevard, 02nd Street, for Tractor Supply. Original concept to utilize designated parking spaces for staging merchandise to sell or rent that would occupy a total of 54 parking spaces. Is the applicant here?
Good evening.
Okay.
My name is James. Thank you for allowing me to remotely call in. I broke my leg, so this makes it a little easier.
Name and address, please.
My name is James Baglioli. I'm in-house counsel for the owner, 570 Delaware Avenue, Buffalo, New York.
Thank you.
Would it be possible for me to share my screen?
You'll have to talk to somebody more technical than me.
I did earlier, so I know that they can grant permission. I just have a few slides.
Damien, who's got Damien? Yep, there you are.
Thank you very much. Can you see my screen?
Nope, we're seeing you. There we go.
Okay. I know the board is probably familiar, the commission's familiar with this site. It's the former Office Depot building located right here. To the north is heavy industrial. To the south, east, and west are all properties in the commercial business district. And to the east is the Fred Meyer, which our company also owns. That's located over here. Or just go for this. We're proposing to reuse the building and property for the Tractor Supply. So Tractor Supply is going to occupy the existing building. As part of Tractor Supply's business, they do have outdoor merchandise display and sales. I'll walk through that with the commission. The outdoor sales and display requires a conditional use permit. Just to walk through the site, the yellow is the parking field that's to remain. Those are the parking spaces. The gray is the building. And the red in this area is a 40 by 42, 2,634 square foot live goods center. And that's going to be enclosed by a 8-foot high decorative picket fence. We'll walk through the detail of that in a little bit. Down here is a 15,152 square foot remote fenced outdoor area, display area. It's over a former parking lot, also to be enclosed by an 8-foot high decorative picket fence. Adjacent to the buildings and the sidewalk are 2 small display areas. They total about 1,350 square feet. And up front, there's a 1,533 square foot trailer display area. That's how we're going to reuse the site. This area, and a little bit of this is over existing parking. We are taking up 54 parking stalls as noted. There's more than enough parking remaining. The property requires 90 parking spaces and we do provide 106. So we're not deficient as far as parking goes. This is the elevation. We're going to be reusing the building. This is the live goods area. You can see the 8-foot high picket fence. This is a detail of that fence. So it's not chain link. It's an attractive picket fence to secure the material. We did go through the staff report and agree with all the conditions and findings. And we do believe we meet the criteria for the conditional use permit. There are 4 things you look at under that. One is whether the use is supported by the comprehensive plan. The current future land use designation is commercial. The comprehensive plan states, and I'm quoting, the commercial designation is to specifically include commercial uses with a focus on the delivery of goods and services on a local and community scale. That's exactly what Tractor Supply does. And it's a good reuse of this commercial building. The next criteria is the design, construction, operation, and maintenance of the property and project will not adversely impact the intended character and appearance of the general vicinity. More than sufficient parking is provided. This is a reuse of an existing building and site. Outdoor sales and storage is the expansion of that existing retail use. And it's also consistent with the Fred Meyer to the east, which also has an outdoor sales area. The proposed use will be served adequately by essential public facilities. As noted in the staff memo, we have adequate wastewater and water systems with sufficient capacity. And the city and fire and police currently serve the property, and they have no negative comments in those memos. And the final criteria is whether the proposed use will not involve activities, processes, materials, equipment, or conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person, property, or general welfare by reasons of excessive traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, or odor. This is a retail use. None of those uses exist with the Tractor Supply. It's going to be very consistent with the prior retail use, except for the outdoor sales and display. There's nothing for these in this use which will result in excessive traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, or odor. I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Any questions for the applicant at this time? Don't have any right now, but hang on and we'll get the staff report and bring you back. Damian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Damian Snodgrass, Associate Planner. Let me pull up my presentation for y'all. Alrighty. The requested action item for the night is a conditional use permit for the exterior storage of goods in a business commercial zone. Pretty standard for a lot that we've been seeing lately. Here are some of the property details. To the east, west, south, we got all commercial, and to the north, we have that heavy industrial, which is the rail line. All right, here are the applicable regulations for a conditional use permit, and we can cover these in the findings. And the applicable regulations that state that per 10-16-2 that any exterior storage will need to come through a conditional use permit, as well as the 10-22-6, and which is the number of parking spaces required for this kind of use. So the staff analysis is that we would calculate all of the parking at 1 per 250 square feet, which is general retail. Currently, this would need 90 stalls, and they're providing 106, so they're sufficiently overparked. It is compatible with the area and the surrounding land uses as being commercial historically and will continue to be commercial into the future. For correspondence, we received a comment from the Nampa Fire District around general access and water supply comments, and a comment from the Nampa Building Safety Department with conditions that if the display areas are ever changed, they would have to go through the plan review process again, which would come through. And the plan review process would have to come through with building permits, so it would get reviewed at the time of the building permits. Here are your proposed findings, that the proposed use is supported by the Nampa Comprehensive Plan. The current future land use is commercial. The current business is commercial. This would be expanding on that commercial use. That the design, construction, operation, maintenance of the property will not, or project will not adversely impact the intended character and appearance of the general vicinity. Parking will be provided as required per a commercial unit, and the proposed storage will be, again, just expanding on that use. That the proposed use is served adequately by essential public facilities and services. It has been determined that it is properly serviced at this time. That the proposed use will not involve any activities or processes, materials, equipment, and conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person's property or general welfare by reason of excess traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glares, or odors. And this will only be expanding on the current use that will be there. Weighing all of the applicable facts, staff has found that all of these criteria were met. The proposed condition is that the developer shall comply with all city codes, policies, standards in place at time of property development, including compliance with Nampa Access Management Policy, which is the note that was made by the building department. Here are your potential motions, and I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions for staff?
Damien, what was in this building prior to this
Office Depot?
depot? And is there any signage on the building now saying Tractor Supply? Or am I?
Commissioner Keough, they are in the process of moving into that space, and they are doing a little bit of remodeling with their tenant improvement, and there will be signage and paint and all kinds of things happening to that building.
Going to the eye doctor, if you're going to tell me there was already a Tractor Supply building in there.
They're working on it.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
Anything else for staff? Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up? Is there anybody that would like to speak for, or against, or undecided on this? No? James, do you have anything to add?
I do not, thank you.
Thank you. Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion by Kehoe, second by Dapper to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? What do you want to do?
I'll be glad to see the building used again.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm not sure what Tractor Supply is. I don't own a tractor, so maybe I've never shopped there, but I have something I might like. I don't know.
We're building a pretty big warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we approved that a year or so ago.
Remember, because it was so flammable and explosive?
Yes, yeah, and the back door, they had the extra component in the back of it.
Still in favor?
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair, I can't see any reason not to, so I'm going to make a motion. I move to approve the project as stated on the screen with recommended conditions and proposed findings.
Second.
Motion by Dapper, second by Selman to approve the conditional use permit. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I got to read this to you, James, so don't go anywhere yet.
I will.
This CUP will become effective 15 calendar days from the date the written decision or reason and statement is provided to the applicant unless an appeal has been filed with the Planning and Zoning Department with the appropriate fee. No action should be taken on this CUP until the appeal period is concluded, and the applicant must confirm with Planning and Zoning staff that there have been no appeals. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
You too. Item number 3, zoning map amendment from BN to BC zoning district and a development agreement modification of ordinance 4862 on 3.46 acres addressed as 2321 Sunny Ridge and 0 and 617 East Greenhurst for Sunny Acre Partners LLC, original concept rezoned from BN to BC, and development agreement modification to permit a more retail uses in multiple buildings and allow drive-through. Do we have the applicant? Name and address, please.
Yes, Mr. Acting Chairman Turner, Larry Leisure, White Leisure Development Company in Boise, and one of the partners of the Greenhurst project that we brought before you a little over a year ago, and for a portion of the property that we're talking about this evening.
Raise that mic up a little bit. Can you raise that mic up just a little bit?
Yeah, and part of it may be me. I have a little,
You're a little
cold
shorter,
here.
or a little taller than the last one. So.
Yeah, there we go. Got it. Yes, we, this body unanimously approved our rezone and mixed-use project in the Greenhurst project.
Chairman Turner, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I don't think we got your address for the
Oh,
record.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
3235 Emerald Street in Boise.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You bet.
I got the company name and missed it. Thank you.
Right. The reason we're before you tonight is that I made a mistake, and I never admit that very often. But the reason that we're before you tonight is a portion of the property, the mixed-use project and the infill project that we developed or hope to develop at the corner of Greenhurst and Sunny Ridge here in Nampa. It's approximately a 7-acre site, of which we'll visit in just a moment. But at the time, the commercial site that we did ask for approval for the BN zone, that is what was approved by this body and unanimously by the city council. My error was a couple of our tenants that we've been talking with needed a drive-through for coffee and food, and the other was for our convenience store, which needed in this zone, the BC zone, needed that zoning for gas. So that's why we've come back before you this evening to request and ask for that approval to do so and move forward in that way. If I could, I should have tested this before, right? There we go. The infill project, you'll see project site development there in the lighter blue. So Avenue 12, 12th Avenue is to the left with Albertson and Walmart. We are the first major arterial cross with Sunny Ridge, and of course Greenhurst, which is a major arterial and continues to be so. So what we have here is a small commercial parcel under 4 acres in size as a master plan for community approvals and uses for that commercial site. We are also in the process that will be back before this body or the community actually for a plat of the residential part of this project. In a moment, once I am able to move this. So the existing approved zoning, the RMH and the BN, provided a mix of uses, and our intent was under the RMH zone, a cottage project that will follow your new ordinances and that will be dealing with the concept of cottage. We're very pleased that we do have a major residential developer that will be bringing that plat forward within the next 30 days to the city to review that. But the BN zone, which is a separate application and also a separate preliminary plat, we are requesting for your consideration the BN zone, or the BC change in the zone. Once again, not because of the uses that are in that. All of those in the BN zone are acceptable, with the exception of a drive-through capability, and also in our convenience store, the various stores that have talked with us, they would definitely need gas. This basically was what was approved, the prior concept approved by this body and by the council. It included the sidewalk along Greenhurst, recommended vegetative buffing per staff report, mixed-use concept with cottage housing adjacent to neighborhood serving businesses. As you will note, what we had in our original approval was a drive-through for one of our food, coffee uses, and retail in the property that is there before you. So at the present time, there were 43 units approved for the residential. That's what you'll be seeing as it moves forward for the preliminary plat in a cottage fashion. Once again, our request for BC and the balance as it presently has been approved with the RMH zone. We agree with staff's report and recommendations that are there as to if this is approved in moving forward. It's an infill site, as I indicated, and substantial. Trying to get back. Any type of convenience store other than on 12th Avenue, and obviously that's major retail, there's no question about that. But neighborhood uses, a convenience store in this area, if you go out Greenhurst, it's about 1.7, 1.8 miles before there's any other convenience and/or gas that's in that location going in this direction. If you go Sunny Ridge, literally to the south, there is nothing between there and literally how it dead ends, and then ultimately there's nothing in that regard. If you go literally above and go out and continue around NNC, above NNC, as you know, there is in the old Holly Shopping Center, there's a gas station in that location. That's your first gas in all of this area. All the other amenities, the park, high school, the other areas are obviously great for residential. And frankly, everything around it has been there and is definitely wonderful for the uses that we're talking about. So with that, this is the preliminary plat that will be proposed and that will be submitted for the uses that we're talking about. All the other uses that we're talking about are in fact certainly qualify in the existing BN zone. If there are any questions, this is the preliminary plan. On the corner itself, the revised concept would be a convenience store. The one next to that would be a drive-through coffee facility on the site for the commercial property as it sits. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
I have a comment, I guess, and I don't know if it's a question, it's a comment, it might be a question. You mentioned about the gas stations being lack of them to the east and north and south, but you forgot to mention the two of them that are on 12th Avenue at the Walmart and Albertsons. Both have gas stations, do they not?
They do. They definitely do.
How far from this particular one?
I'm sorry?
How far is that from this location?
No, it is literally only less than a mile. Less than a mile.
There are gas stations there.
That's correct.
Okay.
There are. But limited on the convenience store. And of course, to do a convenience store, they're needing that usage. So that's why we're looking at it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be bothering you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Might call you back up.
Thank you.
Christie.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Christy Watkins. I'm the Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. As stated, the request before you this evening is for a development agreement modification and rezone from BN to BC for the project located on the southwest corner of Greenhurst and Sunny Ridge Road. The project was previously approved in May of 2025 for annexation with a PUD for BN and RMH zoning. The RMH zone portion of the property is not what we are talking about tonight. We are only talking about the BN portion. The surrounding zoning is RS6 to the north for Stone Ridge subdivision, RS 8.5 to the south, which is just vacant residential acreage at the moment. To the east is RD, which is the Cottages subdivision, and to the west is also RD, which is the Aslan's subdivision, and those are townhouses. The area is surrounded by single-family residential dwellings, both attached and detached. The allowed uses for the BC zone will be evaluated as building permits come in regard to our code 1032. The BC zoning district creates opportunity for a wider range of businesses to serve an area with a fairly dense residential population. City emergency services are available to this property. All new construction will be required to submit for design review. And just as a note, code compliance does have a case open for weeds on this property. Engineering has some requirements for this. It will be required to install appropriate frontage improvements to provide access to the businesses and to fill gaps in the sidewalk along Greenhurst and Sunny Ridge Road. It will be required to extend city services to and through the new development. The developer should construct road improvements along East Greenhurst Road to match those that are planned for the Parker Estates subdivision to the west, and modify center turn lanes to accommodate two-way left turn lanes at the development access at the time of development. The developer shall modify Sunny Ridge Road striping to provide a center turn lane at the development access at the time of development. So the comprehensive plan, the entire corner is high-density residential, but through the PUD, they were allowed to have a mix of zoning and uses. That's where the BN zone came in. The request meets the goals for smart growth and providing services to the community as outlined in the NAMPA 2040 Comprehensive Plan. So to modify a development agreement, we have some criteria that we use to determine whether or not a substantial change exists. The director has the option to determine if it meets any of these bullet points here, and we did determine that it is a substantial change to the concept plan and the zoning that was approved with the original development agreement. The new proposed layout that shows a number of commercial pads to be created at a later date. And I will also need to work with the applicant on revising either the legal description or the site plan. We've already talked about that, and we're going to work together to figure out how to align the zoning with the property lines. There was some property acquisition that happened, and now the parcel lines don't match up, but we're going to work that through with the plating. Like he stated, this is the existing layout that is in the development agreement, and then this will be the preliminary plat that's going to come forward later that will be in the new development agreement. So as far as correspondence, like I stated, code compliance does have a case open for weed abatement. The engineering division has stated their right-of-way and frontage improvements, side path installation, and other conditions of approval. And the fire district states that this is located approximately 0.2 miles from fire station number 2 with an approximate response time of 3 minutes. So the findings for zoning, staff finds that this is in harmony with the comprehensive plan, that it does propose uses, potentially uses, that could be reasonably compatible with the adjoining properties, and that it would be in the interest of the public and reasonably necessary because it will bring utilities to that intersection. These are the recommended conditions of approval as stated in your staff report. I did make a change to number 1. Originally, I had asked for a revised legal description to match the new property boundaries, but again, we will work together to align those parcel boundaries through the platting process rather than changing the legal description. These are your potential motions, and I will stand for any questions.
Any questions for Christie?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. This might be a rambling question, so I appreciate your patience. A lot of times we get concerns from the public about gas stations, especially close to neighborhoods. So maybe my first question is, when this was advertised, was there any indication that the proposed use would be a gas station? Or just the zoning change?
Commissioner Morgan, I don't believe it was specifically stated that it was a convenience store or gas station. I believe it was just the zoning change to a commercial lot.
Okay.
Another thing I'd like to point out, though, on that line, this property does not abut any existing residential. Some of the complaints that we have heard in the past have been from neighborhoods that are immediately adjacent to a parcel that's proposing a convenience store. This one does not have any existing adjacent residential parcels, except for across the street.
That's fair. Do gas stations have any design review guidelines? And I ask this in the context of there's a gas station down the street from us, quite a ways down the street, on Iowa and Middleton that has a lot of nice landscaping. You can hardly tell it's a gas station. You know, it looks really nice. You go down the Greenhurst to the east and you see a Chevron station that is very commercial. You know, it's just, it's pavement. And then across the street from that is a nice neighborhood gas station where Gormley's used to be, I don't know what it's called anymore. It used to be KG. Where do you see this one fitting in that, if that's the range of things it could be? And is there any design review requirements pushing it somewhere along those lines?
Commissioner Morgan, these would just be your standard design review requirements, which would allow for a flat roof with parapet walls screening any kind of mechanical units, 25% glazing on the front, 3 materials or elements that would distinguish the elevation on every side.
Nice looking building.
It would be a nice looking building. One of the things that you might notice with a couple of the stations that have gone in recently adjacent, again, to residential neighborhoods, established residential neighborhoods, is they are required to have peaked roofs and look a little bit more residential rather than the flat roof. That's about the only thing I've seen conditioned in a development agreement that would maybe enhance the look of a conditional use or of a convenience store.
What about landscaping? It's just typical.
Yeah,
Additional
so
requirements.
our landscaping is 20 feet in width with 1.5-inch caliber trees every 25 feet and grass. Yeah, so, yeah, and our landscaping requirements have come a long way. And we also now require irrigated systems that monitor water. So if your sprinklers come on and it's raining, it'll shut them off. So we're not wasting water.
Any other questions for staff? Madam Clerk, do we have a sign-up sheet? Is there anybody here that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this? No? Any more questions for the applicant, or do you have any final comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Speaking specifically to your questions, number one, we probably had 7 or 8 neighborhood meetings over the last time period. And in the beginning, when we first approached you for approvals of the existing plan, and as I showed on the plan, we indicated then that we were going to have convenience stores. The intent was, and also the drive-throughs for the coffee. At our last, we've had 2 additional meetings for this rezone. We've talked with the neighbors, had numerous, and hopefully this evening, no one here that did not agree with this, but we did share with them specifically why we were coming back to you, my error in knowledge. And so we did share with them the reason we were coming back was strictly because of the drive-through need in this zone, the BC zone, and at the same time, gas being a part of it. This area, landscaping is very important to us. We've done 100 shopping center projects. Landscaping becomes critical to us in the buffering between the residential. And I think that going on record here again today for your concern, we definitely have that concern. We have 43 homes that will be adjacent to that drive that we just shared with you in and around this site. So we are working with that residential developer for that whole residential, which we will be submitting in our individual plat in the next 30 days here with the city if this is approved.
Thank you.
Any other
Appreciate that.
questions? I'd be happy to
Any
answer.
other questions? No? Look like we're
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Motion to close public hearing?
Second.
Motion by Kehoe, second by Selman to close public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. What you think?
I'd have a hard time saying all my concerns weren't addressed. They've
I
thoroughly
also have
done
a
it.
hard time saying Morgan's concerns were addressed. I think,
Yeah, there's other gas stations down the street, but
Solar
local
nicer.
neighborhood C-store is pretty nice to have. People don't have to go to Albertsons or Walmart. They just need a gallon of milk.
it'll look a lot better than the pile of dirt and weeds that's there now.
Yeah, no kidding. So,
Go for it, Cody.
All right, I move to recommend approval of the project as stated on screen with the recommended conditions in this presentation.
Second.
motion by Dapper, seconded by Morgan to approve this. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Peggy?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Selman, second by Dapper to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? He beat you.
Aye.